On India Upfront today, we are getting you a story that we have followed doggedly. The China-funded empire stands completely exposed today. It is now almost irrefutably known that some people within India are not just lobbying for China, but have also received funds from Beijing, being coached to glorify China on social media platforms at the cost of India's own interests. Disguised, masquerading as journalists, they actually were doing China's bidding. Armed with Times Now's news breaks, 255 eminent citizens have now petitioned the President and the Chief Justice to take strict action against NewsClick so that, in their words, the anti-national, anti-democratic agenda is put to rest. The legal trouble, on the other hand, is also mounting for the alleged China mouthpiece. The Delhi High Court today issued notice to NewsClick and its editor-in-chief, Prabir Purkayast, in response to a plea by the Enforcement Directorate regarding a money laundering case against them. The ED said that two orders passed in 2021 that granted NewsClick protection and granted, in fact, even protection to Prabir Purkayast from any coercive action, that stay should be vacated. The court has found merit in the ED's argument that there is criminal conspiracy to bring in unaccounted money from abroad. And the next hearing is going to happen. A notice has been issued to the publication and its owner. But, ladies and gentlemen, Times Now has accessed another smoking gun. Remember, today in court, the Enforcement Directorate said that there is new evidence that the agency has unearthed to show how there were cognizable offences that have been committed by NewsClick in addition to the money laundering charge. Today we get to you another set of emails, a smoking gun that shows a concerted effort to praise China while pulling down India. In a while from now, we will tell you how. After the March 2020 mail from Neville Roy Singham to his cabal, working to whitewash China's image and project it as a nation that mastered the art of handling COVID crisis, Vijay Prashad, who is the head of Tricontinental, tweeted 3 articles to showcase China's India COVID fight back. Meanwhile, NewsClick published an article headlined, "Is India Losing the COVID Battle?" So it's very, very clear what was being done. An email was written, and let me actually show you that series of emails where it was being said, you have to write a series of 3 articles. And what was done eventually? So what was the email that was sent in March 2020 say? That email said, "We are working together on a 3-part series article on China." Can we go back to that, please? "We are working together on a 3-part series of articles on China and the handling of the coronavirus. They will be originally syndicated by Globetrotter, then all 3 will be assembled into a tricontinental publication. This tricontinental is the one which is headed by Vijay Prashad." It says here, "Do not circulate any of these materials outside the group. Vijay must have control. Once it is published, then it can be circulated." What was eventually done? Here you have Vijay Prashad, the man mentioned here. Vijay must have control. The email said, working on a 3-part series. To the T, that instruction has been followed. This instruction, by the way, was given by Neville Roy Singham to Prabir Purkayast. Vijay Prashad was in on the plan. So on instructions of Neville Roy Singham, dutifully, this is published. The first part talks about, how China's response has been. Part 2 is on how China learned about SARS-CoV-2 in the weeks before the global pandemic. We forensically trace how Chinese health authorities came to understand the mysterious virus, determined it was more than normal, and acted swiftly to report it to the WHO. So there was the dictation, and then there was the delivery. The COVID cover-up was executed to the T. The second article, they say, is going to discuss how China learned quickly when handling the crisis. Here you have how China broke the chain of infection, namely how State Communist Party and public action in a determined way overcame the virus. There is no room for complacency since it might not be over yet, but there is much to learn here. Then another one says, a contrast to countries like US and China. This is all part of the same email. They said, you must draw a contrast to countries like US and India, who with so much lead time are still unable to ramp up kit production or procurement. And sure enough, here is an article printed in April 2020 saying, is India losing the battle against COVID-19? So instructions were given by people who were on China's payrolls, and they were executed to the T by NewsClick. The question is, why was all of this being done? This is part one of our expose. Now let's tell you about how India's interests in maritime trade were being impacted. This is the latest email that we have here in the possession of Times Now. Here we have the email that is sent by Prabir Porkayast to Shastri Ramachandran on the 10th of June 2016. It says, in touch with former naval commander, talking of doing a documentary. Great, a documentary is being made by NewsClick. Now, what does this documentary say? Documentary on China's land and maritime Silk Route. Why? Why do they want to make this documentary? Because on what is global maritime trade and reconfiguration of global trade. Essentially, this documentary says, we want to reconfigure global trade. In whose interest? Documentary on long-term change from ocean powers to Asian landmass becoming economic center. The documentary that they are talking about essentially says that China now must be projected as the great maritime power, because ocean-based empires is the future. Land empires fell with the rise of ocean-based empires. Who was making this documentary to ensure that China becomes the next ocean-based empire? An Indian publication, an Indian journalistic website is actively on the interests, on the instructions of somebody who is speaking for China, saying, we will push for China to become the ocean empire through maritime trade. The Enforcement Directorate is confident that not only was money laundering being done, but that there were other interests also at play. The simple question now is, will there be more action taken against this organization? Is this a crackdown on China's propagandists within India, or is this a muzzling of free speech? Joining us on the debate, RP Singh, National Spokesperson of BJP, Abhijit Iyer Mitra, Senior Fellow at IPCS, Professor Dinesh Varshney, Leader CPI, Anirban Banerjee, Political Analyst, and Professor Manoj Mandal, also Political Analyst. My first question is to Sanjay Dikshit, retired IAS officer, who is one of the signatories on a letter that has been written today seeking this very kind of action. Mr. Dikshit, many people would ask, as a former bureaucrat yourself, why do you want free speech to be muzzled? In a democracy like India, there can be divergent voices. There can be, one website, there can be another website. You don't like NewsClick, don't read it. Why do you want its promoter arrested? Mr. Dikshit.
Free speech under the Indian Constitution is not an absolute concept. There are at least 8 restrictions on it. And out of those 8 restrictions, the first 2 are sovereignty and integrity of India and security of state. And therefore, anything that is done in order to subvert the Indian government's effort, especially in something as important as a battle against COVID, that is squarely covered under both these exceptions. And there are any number of Supreme Court judgments which say that when it is affecting the sovereignty and integrity of India or the security of state, then things like 153A IPC or 295A IPC would apply. But of course, 124A, the sedition, is right now on hold. But I'm very happy to see that today they introduced the Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita, and under Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita, they introduced a section 150. And section 150 squarely covers this kind of activity exactly. If you want to know what is there in the section 150, I can read it out for you.
No. So let me first start out by asking Professor Dinesh Varshney. There are signatories like Sanjay Dikshit, Professor Varshney, who are saying, and we put out the evidence here, these are all emails. He's saying that just a money laundering investigation is not enough. Prabir Purkayas and everyone associated with NewsClick should be arrested. Why not? Professor Dinesh Varshney.
And Padmaja, in that case, let Padmaja, in that case, we demand that there should be a political party funds must be brought under RTI, and let BJP declare his fund whether they have received the fund from the same companies or from the same outfits. That will be the best.
Sir, I'm asking you a pointed question.
Formation of the Enforcement Directorate and the BJP, as and when, listen, no, please let me complete. As and when they feel the heat, that people are going against them, they are facing a serious problem in Manipur, and the people of India is very angry on them with the BJP on Manipur. They will spread this canard of China card, Pakistan card, Hindu card. For them, their Bharat Mata is okay. When Rahul Gandhi says Bharat Mata, it has to be obliterated or it has to be deleted from the
Let's stick to the point. Professor Varshney,
this is a game of
these
them.
emails, right now you are saying the Bharatiya
Janata
Janata Party is saying these things because people are angry with Manipur. This particular spate of violence has happened in 2023.
Not only
these
Manipur,
emails are written in 2020.
450 rupees
These
kg.
emails are written in 2020.
450 rupees kg.
Sir, these emails are written. Professor
40
Varshney,
rupees
please
kg.
let's not yell at each other. Answer the point. These emails are written in 2020. The Enforcement Directorate investigation started in 2021. Now that this investigation is well underway, why shouldn't action be taken
High Court
against
stayed the order.
Prabir Purkayas
So High
and
Court
NewsClick?
stirred it. Let High Court say that this is not all right. All right, the Honorable High Court has asked the NewsClick to answer those new investigation which ED has taken. ED conviction rate is very, hardly 2 or 3%.
Sir, again you are sidestepping the question. I have shown you. Hold on a
are
second.
against the opposition.
I have shown you.
To curb the voice of the dissent. NewsClick has very large extent, very large publicity. They are giving very serious data against the Jumla politics of BJP.
Like?
So anybody who opposes the Jumla politics of BJP, the lies of the BJP, they always target them. They have targeted Neville Press also. They targeted Ravish Kumar also. They will target you also one day. They will target you also one day.
If I take money from China, they should target.
The BJP,
if I take money from China, they should target. But unfortunately or fortunately, I do not take money from China. Unfortunately for you, unfortunately for me, I do not take money from China.
That the money has come to NewsClick. Show any document. High Court has convinced. That is why they have stayed the conviction.
Actually, no, they haven't stayed the conviction. They have stayed coercive action.
You cannot be a judge before the High Court. You can't be a judge before the High Court, Padmaja.
They have stayed. Arey sir, just because you're shouting doesn't make you right. The High Court had stayed coercive action, and today when the Enforcement Directorate went to the Delhi High Court and said, sir, please vacate this stay because we have new material. What did the court say? The court said there is material evidence to consider the plea of the Enforcement Directorate. Now my question is, since you gave such an impassioned speech on how we must support... Sir,
let the Honorable High Court consider the material evidence, then it will go to the Supreme Court.
Okay, great. Please go all the way to the Supreme Court, but that's not the point. The point is, since in passing, you also made comments about how the voice of dissent must not be muzzled. And this is the voice of dissent being muzzled. And, you know, because this great...
national integrity has been harmed by the BJP in Manipur. Mr. Dixit has not seen.
Sir, again, you are trying to derail the debate. You know, every time I'm asking you,
on Manipur.
Professor Varshney, just because I'm asking you,
he's a BJP tool.
Professor Varshney, let's leave the tools aside for a second. Let's talk about facts. My question to you is very simple and very specific.
Why should I leave?
Answer my question, sir.
No.
Professor Varshney, I don't like doing shouting matches. I don't like doing shouting matches. Please, can I please reduce your audio for 20 seconds? I want to bring back Mr. Dixit and I want to bring back the other speakers as well. You said this is voice of dissent. You know, there is factual data being put out and all. Can you please tell me what is factual about a documentary made which says, let us make a documentary where we show that China is going to be the maritime empire of the future? What is the fact-driven journalism being done here, Professor Varshney?
Offices throughout the country, let them bring.
Answer my question. What is the fact-driven journalism in making a documentary that says, let's push for China to become the next maritime empire as opposed to America?
Look, none of the Communist Party of the world will go in favor of another nation trade. If I am a member of the Communist Party of India, we will favor that Indian trade should prosper, the Indian economy should prosper, the people of India should be benefiting with this prosperity of economic prosperity. Not Adani Ambani.
But this lovely publication, who you just lauded in glowing terms about 30 seconds ago, wants China to become the next maritime empire.
And no documentary in the present. It is a corrupted mind, optical illusion that any documentary can change the course of trade now or trading systems now. What are you talking? That film, there is a film on the documentary film on multiple documentary film on ancient Silk Route through China. What are you talking?
Okay. Abhijit Iyer Mitra, are you hallucinating to think that one innocent little documentary is actually going to end up making China the next maritime empire?
Absolutely not. The point is the context of when this whole thing was being transacted. This was being transacted when China was killing our troops in Galwan. And there was a de facto state of hostility between the two countries. Right?
No. Now, this particular email, just to be clear, Abhijit, this particular email is in 2016. It was written about 23rd June 2016. The one about the documentary, not the one about Arunachal. Yeah.
Okay. So you have a situation where you have essentially a hostile power. In 2016, China was still pretty hostile to us. Let's not forget that. We've had, before Galwan, we had Doklam as well. Let's not forget, which were pretty violent clashes as well, even though they did not lead to fatalities. China is a strategic competitor. To push a competitor's tagline here is fundamentally a disloyal act. I would remind you that 2 defense analysts based out of Delhi have also been arrested under the National Security Act for spying for China and writing consultancy papers for them. What is more interesting is the ideology of these communists. I want you to look at this, Padmaja. Lovely poster, isn't it? The language being used here is Bengali. It says, China's chairman, Amader chairman. China's chairman is our chairman. This was a very popular poster that the Communist Party of India used to use in the 1970s, 60s and 70s, you see. So by the Chinese were killing us, they were claiming China's chairman was our chairman. Communist parties as a rule have had a long history of collaboration with enemies. Let's start with their great granddaddy Lenin. Lenin was a German agent. He was literally sent into Russia in a sealed train by the Kaiser while they were fighting the Germans to destabilize and unseat the government, after which, even knowing 6 months away, victory was 6 months away, Lenin then signed off a good quarter of Western Russia to the Germans in the Brest-Litovsk Treaty. Mao Zedong was another traitor to his country. While the Kuomintang and Chiang Kai-shek were busy fighting the Japanese, he was busy conserving his forces, engaging in let's just say adult content with certain ladies of the night in Shanxi province, claiming that he was actually fighting people. So you see, communists have a long history of collaboration with foreign powers. Their only aim is to come to power. Now here, let's be clear. If you've met Prabir Purkayastha, you'll know he's not the smartest chap in a 1,000-mile radius. I can only assume that he did not know what he was doing, but the people around him certainly knew what was happening. He had a fiduciary duty to find out what his sources of funding were, what their motives were, to vet them correctly. You know, there is a caveat in law which says ignorantis juris non excusat. Well, equally, ignorance of funding cannot be excused. This was clearly pushing Chinese propaganda. China is a hostile state to India. Now, if they want to invest with us, that is perfectly fine.
Okay.
China was built up by America, and America today depends on China. But pushing narratives like this, completely different ballgame.
And who are the people, Professor Varshney, that Mr. Purkayastha is taking money from? Let me show you a picture. Neville Roy Singham, this independent businessman who is for some strange reason giving 11,000 rupees per share to the NewsClick's parent organization, on the 6th of July 2023, attended a workshop, CPC International Image Innovation Forum. So you are innovating for the CPC's image as recently as the 6th of July 2023. That's last month. The man obviously is here only to burnish China's image. The question is, why are Indians taking his money to do the same? And why are Indian political parties defending these people? Professor Varshney.
Let the Honorable High Court investigate. You cannot have the media trial of the NewsClick. You cannot have the anti-China card on the Times Now. Abhijit is anti-communist. Everybody know he has a problem with the communists throughout his life. Don't tell us. We know everybody. They are nowadays, they are the propagators. They are the renegade agents of the BJP. You were, not now. You were. Now you are an agent of BJP. Don't tell me. I know you very well.
What you wear.
So tell me, it is okay. You are saying that nobody should comment on NewsClick because that will be a media trial. But certain guilds can release statements decrying the action on NewsClick, and that is not an extrajudicial trial? Professor Varshney?
You have brought those people on today's show.
So when we ask questions based on emails, then we are doing a media trial.
Yes or no.
But when an ongoing investigation is questioned by certain groups, that is not an extrajudicial trial?
What will take the cognizance of that? If they have taken... Arey Baba, this BJP played a set of 5-member signature on Raghav Chadda. Raghav Chadda says, show any document.
Where did you get it, Raghav Chadda? So we take cognizance of these emails, it becomes a media trial. Somebody else takes cognizance of an actual court trial, and that is not an extrajudicial trial. Very convenient.
At the Times Now, you are playing as a tool of, from last 3 days, you are playing as a tool of BJP.
So now I have become a tool. Very convenient. If I show emails, I become a tool.
Yes. There was an allegation by Tehelka. Lot many media have taken the money from these sources.
Sir, I have an opinion of who is a tool, but I would like to reserve that opinion. That being said, why is there a media trial? Abhijit Iyer Mitra, I want to open this up after that. Yeah.
This is not a media trial, Padmaja. We are asking questions. It's plain and simple. These people keep saying there is great courage, and they keep asking the Prime Minister, why won't you name China? Well, you know, a media organization, the Press Club of India and the Women's Press, Indian Women's Press Council or whatever, they issued a statement refusing to name China. They say communications with a neighboring country. This is how scared they are to name China, and they keep getting Communist Party members to give lectures at the IWPC Convention Center, which incidentally they take off a pittance on the Indian taxpayers' money, government money, public property that they're squatting on.
Okay.
Right? So this is no media trial. This is asking questions. If you are a traitor to your country, you will be questioned. End of story.
These are questions based on facts rather
Everybody
than
knows
opinions.
he's a traitor
A
to
lot
the
of people
country.
actually
Everybody
issue
knows who was the
statements,
traitor of the country.
Professor Manojit
Everybody
Mandal,
knows
based
what
purely
he
on their
did.
opinion.
Mahindu
Let me bring in
Mahasabha
Professor
was-
Manojit Mandal and RP Singh. You know, you have an opinion, this is a witch hunt, and that's a legit opinion. We ask questions based on actual documents, that becomes a media trial. Strange. Anyhow, such is life that I get to ask these questions. So, Professor Manojit Mandal, I'll show you a lovely coincidence. Here we have an email which is sent in March 2020. Here Prabir Purkaya says, we have to write a series of 3 articles, how India, US unable to ramp up kit procurement and production. And voila, next month itself, April 2020, there is an article saying, has India lost the COVID war? Are you seriously telling me that this is not Chinese propaganda being printed here in India, lock, stock and barrel?
Now, what is your point? I really don't understand. If they were
I'll rephrase. I'll rephrase it.
Something.
I'll rephrase. If I get an email saying you must write 3 articles, and next month I write those 3 articles word for word, can I be accused of peddling the propaganda of the person who sent me that email? Yes or no?
But the media is, I think, an extremely useful propaganda house at this point in time. So why blaming this quote-unquote, non-conventional new media house by the name of...
No, this is not a media house. You are a propaganda arm. You're not a media house.
Yeah,
if you are doing
I'm
somebody's
saying that in the
bidding...
mainstream, I'm saying mainstream media in this country, 90% of them, they have become a propaganda house for one particular political
I respect your judgment.
That is BJP.
Now, can I use your wisdom to ask whether in this particular case, where people are writing what they have been told to in an email about India's handling of COVID is replicated lock, stock and barrel the very next month, a propaganda or not?
I'll tell you. Like, how did we handle COVID in Bengal?
Answer the question, sir, please. This is not about COVID handling. Answer the question. Answer the question.
The question. This was a propaganda, and BJP also had the propaganda against Bengal that lakhs of cases have been suppressed by Mamta Di. So both are propaganda.
So what NewsClick did was propaganda.
Propaganda machinery.
What NewsClick did was propaganda. Are you saying what NewsClick did was propaganda?
Could be. It could be a propaganda. Then these people should be hauled up. It could be a propaganda. It may not be a propaganda. It is lying in the...
No. How can you say may or may not be? I'm putting the facts in front of you, where I'm showing you how somebody has been told in the name of journalism to write articles and say India did not handle COVID well. They print an article saying India lost the COVID fight. How is it not propaganda? How is it a maybe, may not be question?
That means BJP, if this is a propaganda, BJP was also doing propaganda against our COVID handling in Bengal, and you bought the story. Both are propaganda. One can be a propaganda, one can be a non-propaganda, right? But you did not acknowledge that. Now, at least by hindsight, you acknowledge Amit Malviya's tweet.
I don't know where you're taking this, but I'm still happy that you have acknowledged this is propaganda. Chaliye, at the very least, you've acknowledged it is propaganda. See, Manojit Mandal is at least acknowledging Anirban Banerjee that this is propaganda. Then why are mainstream parties standing up in defense of this propaganda? If this is indeed propaganda, then why did mainstream parties defend it?
First of all, when there are reports in something called Cobra Post about many media houses receiving money from a particular political party, it's not taken seriously. When foreign media reports about India's very, very poor handling of COVID, that is propaganda. It is not taken seriously. This very New York Times, if I'm not very wrong, who have published this report about NewsClick and China, when they say that Narendra Modi, under the government of Narendra Modi, the COVID handling was horrible. You say that, no, these are foreign powers trying to defame our government, our country. But in this case, they are very, very serious. Their reporting is very, very accurate. I mean, what more?
Sir, can you come to the point? Can you come to the point instead of just wasting time?
No, absolutely not. Whenever I speak my point, you will say I'm wasting your time.
But you are making some random point.
That is fine.
My question is
any random points.
You are making a random point.
No. That is no. It's absolutely not random. It is very, very clear. Whenever there are
why is a Trinamool Congress MP defending something like a NewsClick, which Professor Manojit Mandal says is doing propaganda. Why is the Trinamool Congress MP defending it in 2018, Professor Manojit Mandal? 2021, sorry.
I'm saying media house, by and large, whether this kind of NewsClick or mainstream media, 90% of them have become BJP's propaganda machinery. That's what I'm saying.
I don't know
So
about
why
90%. Well, I don't know who it is that you're referring to as 90%. This, if you're saying, is propaganda.
I'm referring to you.
Answer this,
You are a
RP
very
Singh.
unbiased kind of media house.
Answer this. I really don't know who this unfortunate 90% you're talking about. But if you're referring to NewsClick, then answer this, RP Singh. Why are only money laundering investigation being carried out? Why not more? Now you've got Indian citizens writing to the government saying that we want stronger action. Why wasn't this done over the last 2 years?
Padmaja, thank you for this question. But before that, I mean, my friend from TMC has partially accepted, but he's trying to counter with another narrative that the media is bought over by BJP. Even if I grant him that, will he allow any foreign country to intervene into our internal matters? That's the bigger issue. I mean, even I grant, it's not true, but even I grant him this, but he will accept that. I mean, the problem is that these people fought against the Communist Party. They came in power fighting against the communist regime. They came in regime fighting against the communist propaganda. And today because they see Prime Minister Modi as a bigger threat to them, as complete INDI put together. That's why they go in hand with even the foreign powers supporting the Communist Party or the communist agenda here. But that point aside, coming to the issue, another issue which was raised by Mr. Varshney while I was hearing him, what is the proof? Oh, there's a digital print. I mean, there's a digital print of the complete email trail. I mean, that's there. Then also, there is a trail of money also. I mean, loss-making companies sold its share for 11,510 rupees and then made money out of it. I mean, I've been told in tune to some 38 crore rupees money was transferred. And it was said, no, although it's loss making, but it has a lot of value otherwise. I mean, we know what is the value behind it and what's the reason. And out of that also, to rotate the money from one pocket to another pocket, 1.55 crore was paid to a peon-like electrician who was a sixth pass, was given as money to the electrician. So we all know this round tripping of the money, how does it happen? And Mr. Varshney was wrong when he said that the ED's conviction rate, I mean, please go through the PMLA conviction rate.
Okay, sir, that is again, let's not get sidetracked into that. Let's not get sidetracked into that. Let me ask you this, Sanjay Dikshit. Has harsher action not been taken for the last 2 years because of lack of evidence, or what was holding the government back? Why does it take for you to write a letter now? 2 years after the first searches?
No, we are writing a letter because we have got some firm evidence from a third party. No,
as in, are you disappointed that the government did not take harsher action? Why only just money laundering charges?
Yes, we are. In fact, these people should have been brought to book much earlier. That is there. But I also have to counter this gentleman, this Mr. Varshney and the other Communist Party people. I mean, these Communist Party people, they have officially subscribed to what is called the Gangadhar Adhikari report, which wants to break India into 17 parts. And till today, none of the Communist parties, its various offshoots, have ever disowned that report.
You are a RSS man.
Under what kind of moral authority they come and preach everybody and say that, okay, we are communist parties and we will support what China does. Basically, they write Communist Party of India because they don't write Indian Communist Party. They write Communist Party of India precisely because of that, because their entire agenda, as Abhijit had just said, that all communist parties are basically anti-national. And now we are very fortunate that if the new IPC, which is called Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, comes into picture, their game will be up, because
okay, that's a very serious charge. Respond, Professor Varshney. Respond, Professor Varshney.
That is a different thing. That's a different thing. That's a different thing. That's a different thing. Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita changing a name is a different thing. Don't try to this thing. Always the opposition voices are mulled in this country. ED has been sent to the opposition leaders as if everybody come to corrupt person come to BJP has become a washing machine to
Please tell me about the Gangadhar
wash
Adhikari
clothes.
possession paper. Do you
अरे
still
वॉशिंग मशीन में धुल जाता है बीजेपी में आते ही। और जब आप गंगाधर अधिकारी की बात कर रहे हो ना मिस्टर दीक्षित, इसका मतलब आप आरएसएस के आदमी हो, आप आरएसएस के आदमी हो। आपको ये रिपोर्ट दी गई है और हमने इसका पब्लिक में जवाब दिया है, हमने इसका पब्लिक में जवाब दिया है और 1942 का भी जवाब दिया है हमने, 1942 का भी जवाब दिया है हमने। आप आरएसएस के आदमी हो इसका मतलब, जब गंगाधर अधिकारी की रिपोर्ट कर रहे हो। आप कंड्यूट हो उनके, आप कंड्यूट हो उनके, आप कंड्यूट हो उनके मिस्टर दीक्षित, यू आर ए कंड्यूट ऑफ देम।
Okay, you know, it's very interesting that you're calling him a conduit, because for somebody to be a conduit, there needs to be an exchange of money, there needs to be an exchange of favors. Where is this exchange happening and who's a conduit? More importantly, of who? Hopefully, now an investigation and a removal of the stay on prosecution and coercive action is going to determine. Our job was only to put the facts out there. Thanks, gentlemen, for joining me. After deciding to give the Prime Minister's speech on Manipur in Lok Sabha a miss, today Congress MP Rahul Gandhi came out to list his thoughts on the address to the media. He accused the Prime Minister of cracking jokes even as Manipur burnt and making an electoral speech instead of answering questions on conflict. And then he went on to bat for the opposition alliance, calling the Prime Minister's attacks on India, branding them Ghamandia, unbecoming. The newly reinstated MP said he will continue to do his job despite the criticism and the taunts from the BJP. The question now is, did the opposition's game plan to put the centre on the mat over Manipur boomerang? Did the field set by the anti-BJP bloc end up in a self-goal? And finally, who had the last laugh in this match ahead of 2024 final? Let me take that across. RP Singh continues with us. Manuj, the political analyst, Bishwajit Deb, spokesperson of TMC, and senior advocate Lokesh Jindal, leader of the Congress. Manuj, let me start by asking you. आज राहुल जी ने बोला है कि बहुत ही हल्की किस्म की डिबेट हुई, जो जवाब दिया गया था वो एक प्राइम मिनिस्टर को सूट नहीं करता।
पद्मजा, मुझे एक बात समझ में नहीं आती, ये ट्रेवलॉग जो वहां पे पेश किया गया, भेड़िया से चींटी, अहंकार खत्म हो गया, ये सब मणिपुर के बारे में तो था नहीं, पहली बात। दूसरी बात, उससे पहले अमित शाह जी ने मणिपुर के बारे में जो भी जानकारी चाहिए हो सकती थी संसद के सदस्यों को, वो दी। तीसरी बात, आंतरिक सुरक्षा के लिए जिम्मेदार अमित शाह थी, वास्तव में अमित शाह को ही जवाब देना था, लेकिन इसीलिए प्रधानमंत्री ने घमंडिया कहा कि हम घमंड है हमारा कि हम प्रधानमंत्री को संसद के भीतर बुला के दिखाएंगे। तो फिर आए प्रधानमंत्री और जिसने जो जो बोला था उसका सबका जवाब देना ही था उनको। वो सिर्फ आकर के सिर्फ अमित शाह जी की बात को सिर्फ रिप्रोड्यूस करना उनका काम थोड़ा था, वो तो सब कहा जा चुका था। हाँ, ये बात जरूर है कि फिर ये भी सच होना था कि जो बात, पद्मजा एक बात बताइए कि 2 मई की घटना हुई है, जबकि घटना है उसके 2 महीने बाद वो वीडियो आया। अगर वो वीडियो जिसके पास था, अगर वो पहले आ जाता तो अब तक शायद चार्जशीटेड भी हो जाता।
Okay, let's limit ourselves to the political statements made. The Prime Minister said that the very fact, Mr. Deb, that the opposition walked out before his reply shows their arrogance. Hence, your alliance has been branded Ghamandia. What do you make of this?
मैं सिंपल सी बात है, उनको मणिपुर में नहीं सुनना था।
No, let Mr. Bishwajit Deb respond to this.
The opposition walked out after the Prime Minister spoke for 1 hour 40 minutes, and within that particular time the Prime Minister had not mentioned even once about Manipur. It shows that Prime Minister has got no respect for the people of Manipur. Manipur was crying, Manipur was burning, and the Prime Minister had no respect, no feelings, no sympathy towards the people of Manipur. In fact, we could see that the Home Minister Amit Shah made a statement that the Kuki-Zo community and the Nagas of the Manipur, they come from Burma. They have come from Burma. They are basically Myanmar. They are basically from Myanmar. So this was protested by the Mizoram MP in the Rajya Sabha, and his mic was put off today.
But Mr. Deb, hold on a second. When you say that the Prime Minister spoke about Manipur after an hour, he was replying to the entire debate on the trust vote. The debate itself brought up issues as diverse as the price of tomatoes, the Adani businesses, Some people even spoke about the price of a thali. Some spoke about President's rule being imposed and the opposition being unleashed. So the Prime Minister was duty bound to respond to all of those allegations as well, right? And then to also talk about Manipur, because these issues was also raised by the opposition, including the Congress, the NCP, the TMC. Mr. Gandhi spoke about Gautam Adani. What did that have to do with Manipur?
Because you are right. I fully agree that the government is a total failure so far as these aspects were concerned. The aspects which were raised, the issues which were raised by the opposition parties, by the India Alliance.
And that's why the Prime Minister answered to it.
The government was a total failure. But Manipur was the core issue. Don't forget, 150 people, more than 150 people lost their lives. More than 60,000 people are homeless. Hundreds and
But the Prime Minister spoke about it for an hour. Why wasn't the opposition there?
No, not at all. You see, the Prime Minister spoke after 1 hour 40 minutes. Don't forget that. It indicates that the Prime Minister has got minimum respect, minimum sympathy towards the people of Manipur.
Okay, quick response, Abhijesh Awasthi, then RP Singh. Yes.
Okay, Mr. Dev.
Manipur is burning.
You said
Manipur is
Prime
burning.
Minister
And the Prime Minister is not doing anything.
Mr. Dev, please listen.
What about?
1 घंटे 40 मिनट के बाद मणिपुर पर बोले और कांग्रेस और जो ऑपोजिशन था उसने वॉकआउट.
Okay, 10 seconds more. Abhijesh ji, 10 seconds more to Vishwajit Dev. 10 seconds, yes, go on.
Why? Even after the Supreme Court said that the complete failure of the law and order of the state, why this Biren Singh government has not been sacked, why 356 has not been imposed. They are a total failure. Manipur government is a total failure.
Okay, 10 seconds. Respond, Abhijesh Awasthi, that the arrogance wasn't part of the government. Yes.
Arrogance opposition का ये था कि जो ही प्राइम मिनिस्टर ने मणिपुर पर बोलना शुरू किया, they walked out. क्योंकि वो मणिपुर को सुनना चाहते ही नहीं थे. उनको वो कहते थे हम सिर्फ प्रधानमंत्री को सदन के अंदर लाना चाहते हैं, सदन में बोलने के लिए मजबूर करना चाहते हैं. उन्होंने साफ साफ कहा उनका उद्देश्य मणिपुर कहीं भी नहीं था. और बाय द वे मिस्टर देव, आपको सुप्रीम कोर्ट और हाई कोर्ट की टिप्पणियां अगर आपकी सरकार के बारे में मैं बता दूं तो शायद आप शायद सुन नहीं पाएंगे वो.
Okay, let me get in RP Singh and Lokesh Jindal. RP Singh, the opposition today is saying that not only did you not allow them to speak, not only was Mr. Gandhi shown only 40% of the time that he was speaking inside the Lok Sabha, you even suspended Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary. Nobody gets to speak other than the government, and they also speak what they want to speak. Why? Ghamandiya Bharatiya Janata Party.
Well, Padmaja, first let's understand what was the intention of the opposition. Was the opposition's intention to discuss Manipur, or they wanted to launch INDIA and relaunch Mr. Rahul Gandhi? These were the two basic objectives as per me for this no confidence motion. And this was brought in because Arvind Kejriwal took a lead by that semi-final plan, that this is a semi-final. So to undo that or to overcome that, so they brought no confidence motion. That was the basic objective. And then had Manipur been that objective, then Home Minister categorically stated many a time in the House that we are prepared to discuss as much you want to discuss, as long you want to discuss, and also wrote a letter to both of them, Adhir Ranjan Dada and Mallikarjun Kharge ji, that let's discuss. But for them, Manipur is not an issue at all. For them, it was scoring brownie points or launching to INDIA and Rahul Gandhi. That was the basic. But coming to the issue of issues which were discussed by the Prime Minister. Prime Minister, since questions were raised by opposition, had they stayed on to Manipur as a subject, then Prime Minister would have stayed on to Manipur as a subject. Since opposition raised all other subjects than Manipur, I mean, except Gogoi Sahab, all other leaders never spoke about Manipur as subject, except Bharat Mata ki hatya ho gayi. I mean, all that language which he used, or giving flying kiss in the parliament. I mean, that was the basic thrust of the even Rahul Gandhi's complete debate.
Okay, Lokesh Jindal, actually, the rest of the opposition walked out much later. Why is it that when the Prime Minister came, Mr. Gandhi left, came back, and then left again?
Well, Padmaja, I was hearing RP Singh and Nivesh ji. So it's important that they understand that the issue was not about Manipur, it was more about Manipuris. When Rahul Gandhi ji walked from Kanyakumari to Kashmir, he wanted to listen to the people. The idea was not, the issue was not so much political, but it was also about what the ordinary Manipuri is suffering in Manipur. We were expecting the Prime Minister to act as the head of the government, come out with policy measures initiated.
Sir, answer the question. Why is it that when the Prime Minister was in the House, the Congress MP first left? He left, जाते जाते उन्होंने कह दिया कि भाई अभी भारत माता unparliamentary हो गई है. Then he came back. Then he went again. Why? Even Mrs. Gandhi was in the House. Mrs. Gandhi was sitting in the House, but Mr. Gandhi left.
Atmaja, we were asking a serious issue and he was cracking jokes. We were asking what the Manipuris are going through and he was mocking Congress.
So Mr. Gandhi got upset with jokes.
No, it is not expected. I mean, such a serious issue of Manipur. And
what did Mr. Gandhi do?
Opposition.
And what did Mr. Gandhi do?
One thing. What wrong was the opposition?
And what did Mr. Gandhi? What was the gesture of Mr. Gandhi in the parliament?
Of what the Manipuris are going
through. Would you discuss that?
Is it not a serious issue? At this point of time, you are expecting the Prime Minister to come out with all.
Did you confine the debate to Manipur?
Actually, sir, Mr. Jindal, you know, hold on a second. The first time that Mr. Gandhi left, he did not say I am leaving because there are jokes being cracked. When he was leaving, he spoke about Bharat Mata and then he said, I have some work. And he left. As the Prime Minister was going to speak, he said, I have some work, and he left. Why?
1 hour 45 minutes. 1 hour 45 minutes. What did we hear? We only heard rhetorics.
He left even before the Prime Minister was going to speak. He said, I have some work. What work is more important when the PM is going to speak?
The BJP president, were we asking a political party or we were asking the Prime Minister of the nation to address the parliament?
But he did address the parliament. Why leave and say, I have some work?
What was the subject of the address? What was being addressed?
Manipur.
Was Manipur addressed?
Yes.
How many minutes?
For an hour.
How many minutes?
For an hour.
How many minutes?
For an hour.
No, not for an hour. Padmaja, the Manipur was addressed for only 2 minutes.
2 minutes?
You may hear the entire speech. After 1
Which
hour,
speech were you listening to?
No. After 1
okay,
hour,
RP Singh respond and Avnijesh Awasthi.
The Prime Minister, he mentioned Manipur. Before that, he was only ridiculing.
Okay, RP Singh.
He suddenly come up to Kachativu. He started talking about Indira Gandhi. He was mentioning
my friend.
And he was talking about. Yes, sir.
My friend, I think I'll sponsor a machine hearing aid for all congressmen. Probably they got hard of hearing. I mean, he spoke about every issue on Manipur in detail in Northeast, how things have changed, how things are changing, how things have been shaped in all the region. And he appealed, let's bring a unanimous resolution, let's bring a consensus on Manipur also. But were you serious about Manipur? When Prime Minister was speaking, when Prime Minister was supposed to speak, the man left for Rajasthan election campaigning and then making a gesture of flying kiss. I mean, this is the seriousness of Manipur you're talking about.
No, that wasn't yesterday. That wasn't when the Prime Minister was speaking. The allegation was made day before yesterday. But anyhow, Avnijesh Awasthi wants to respond.
No, but it's very clear.
No.
अमित शाह जी ने देश के गृह मंत्री और आंतरिक सुरक्षा मंत्री होने के नाते मणिपुर के बारे में जितनी जानकारी विस्तार से दे सकते थे और देनी चाहिए थी वो सब दी। इसके बाद मुझे लोकेश जिंदल ये बता दीजिए वो कौन सी जानकारी थी जो आप प्रधानमंत्री से चाहते थे। एक बात और बता दूं पद्मजा जी, अगर शुरू में सीधे डायरेक्ट प्राइम मिनिस्टर अक्षम बोलते तो कहते देश का गृह मंत्री अक्षम है, जिम्मेदारी देश के गृह मंत्री की, उत्तरदायी वो है, उन्होंने जवाब क्यों नहीं दिया। ये वो विपक्ष है जो समस्या के समाधान में किसी भी तरीके से इंटरेस्टेड नहीं है। सब बड़ी साफ सी बात है, जो ही मणिपुर पर बात शुरू हुई तो ही वॉकआउट किया कि मणिपुर से हमें कुछ लेना देना नहीं, हमें तो तुम्हें अंदर लाना था संसद में आकर के बोलना था, ये घमंड था। और ये घमंड जिसकी वो चर्चा कर रहे थे ट्रेवलॉग वाले, वो घमंड की घमंड टूटता, वास्तव में उनका टूटा। और फिर उसके बाद मिजोरम की भी चर्चा हुई, मणिपुर की भी चर्चा हुई, नेवी की भी चर्चा हुई, इस पूरे मणिपुर समस्या के रूट कॉज की भी चर्चा हुई, 1993 की भी चर्चा होनी चाहिए थी जब MOS सिर्फ 4 घंटे के लिए वहां गए थे। उस पार्टी को प्रधानमंत्री को बुलाने का हक नहीं है जिस पार्टी के समय में 750 से ज्यादा लोगों की डेथ हो चुकी हो, कत्ल हो चुका हो, और वो 4 घंटे के लिए वहां पे MOS और चुप, उसके बाद कुछ नहीं, पहले कुछ नहीं, बाद में कुछ नहीं।
Okay, Mr. Deb, quick response, Mr. Deb, yes.
When he spoke about Mizoram, we expected that he will speak about the peace accord also. He will say that the peace accord was signed not at the initiative of his party, and that permanent peace has been restored in Mizoram due to the sacrifice of Mr. Lalthan Haula. He should have said that, but he did not. He suppressed that particular fact. In fact, the entire Northeast, the tribals of Northeast had been insulted, they had been mocked, they have been totally disregarded, and their issues have not been taken into account.
Okay.
I would rather
it's very interesting. You're quoting very specifically from what the Prime Minister spoke about in terms of Mizoram. So even if your MPs were not there in Parliament, at least you, Mr. Bishwajit Deb, were listening to the speech very, very carefully. That's good to know. I'll leave it over here. But very interesting pitch has been set, as the Prime Minister said, for the next few months. Who's going to play the sixer on that will be found out in May 2024. Thanks for watching. Thanks for joining.